Harp on Sports with Seth Harp.
You know what time it is.
3, 2, 1. Let's do this.
Go, bartender! Your food needs refill!
Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, and radio network. What do we have in store for you on this first edition of the Bar 2025 style college football Final Four? And, I mean, ESPN, ABC, gotta love what they got. I mean, good gracious. Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, and Texas. Good gracious. You get it all. You do. I know you're missing the West Coast here a little bit, but I mean, who is it going to be anyway? I mean, or if Oregon would have won, maybe a little bit, but come on. It's a network's dream. And what's the best matchup? Well, tradition-rich, strength. What do we expect? We're going to look at that. Also, NFL season, rearview mirror, man. Looking back at what we just got, what games of this postseason are we the most excited for? We're going to rank them 1 through 6. Also, biggest disappointment, biggest surprise, all of that. And also, head into the postseason, what players got the most on the line here? What's the most at stake? And, the Bucks make the playoffs. Dolphins don't. Tyreek Hill once out. Jaguars, no man's land. Look at that as well. Again, Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports Twitter or X, at Harp on Sports Insta, Harp on Sports Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Under the Bar, Harp on Sports YouTube channel, Harp on Sports Facebook page, and of course, harponsports.com. Start off with this college football playoff. Down to the Final Four. It's been a success. I mean, the Texas-Arizona State game's been the best game we've seen this postseason. Notre Dame, Georgia, competitive. Very good. Yeah, okay, Penn State crushed. Look, it was a one-score game into the third quarter. Ohio State dominated Oregon. That was the one you didn't expect, at least in terms of total domination. Oregon was the best team, beginning to end, all year long. Laid an egg. And I know we're talking about tweaking it next year. The 4 road teams won. The 4 home teams, are the teams that got the bye lost. But what? Georgia won the SEC. Should have gotten a bye, right? Georgia won the SEC, beat Texas twice. Should have gotten a bye. Oregon went undefeated. What's the spin here? The 5 and 6 should have gotten a bye. Who's that? Who are the 5 and the 6s? When you go back and look at it. Well, the 5 is Ohio State. 6 is Penn State. 7 is Notre Dame. These guys, it's not like the 10s worked their way up through this thing. Look, I think it's been pretty successful. And we had blowouts when it was 4 teams. Of course, you're going to expand it. Those teams at the top are going to crush other teams. Spreads in this. Well, Ohio State's a touchdown favorite. Notre Dame's a 2-point favorite. I think it's been a success. Are they going to tweak it? Yes. What are they going to do? I hope going forward they come out with some rules like the NCAA basketball tournament as they tweak it. Hey, you can't play a conference opponent in the first round type of stuff. There's no guarantee if you're a conference champion you get to host. But what would that have looked like? Seriously, what would that really look like looking back on it now? Oregon still would have been 1. Georgia would have been 2. Who would have been 3? Penn State would have been 3? Is that what we would have done? Texas would have been 4. Ohio State would have been 4. I mean, how much difference would that really have made? So, like, this is one of those things people complain. Not me, baby. Not me. And the fact that Alabama got doused by Michigan. Ole Miss was impressive. You bet. Ole Miss was impressive. But Ole Miss wasn't the first SEC team on the outside looking in. It was Alabama. Then you had Miami on the outside looking in. They got doused too. So, whatever. I think it's been a very success. Been a very big success. What happens in these games? Look, I said I'd like Notre Dame's chances against Georgia. I think they're going to have a tough time against Penn State. I do. I think I have a tough time with Penn State. I think Ohio State will beat Texas. I do. And if you're a betting man, you take Penn State in the 2. And I think you take Ohio State and give the 6. I do. Now, and I'll tweak this as the week goes on. I'll make my ultimate decision. But in looking at this, what's best for college football? What's best for college football is Notre Dame, Texas. what's best for talking smack in college football is Penn State, Ohio State, because the Big Ten can thumb their nose at the rest of college football. They really can. And Notre Dame, Texas, and then Notre Dame winning the national title would be what's best for college football. It would be. You go, Ohio State, yeah, that's nice, but Notre Dame hasn't won a national title how long, gang? 36 years. 36 years since Notre Dame won a national title. If Notre Dame would win a national title, Marcus Freeman in his third year, and this is something that people forget. People forget. Lou in his third, Devine in his third, Aaron in his third. Guys that won national championships at Notre Dame win them in their third year. Here we are. It completely falls by the wayside, but we'll see what happens. We will see what happens in this sucker. But I like the matchups. I like what we get. And if I were a betting man right now, I'd say Penn State wins. And I'd say Ohio State wins, and Ohio State gets them again. But we'll see. We shall see. From that to this, NFL regular season's done. And I thought it was a decent NFL regular season. I mean, the fact that the Chiefs didn't score over 30 points and finished 15-2 is remarkable. And they rested everybody. The Broncos drilled them. Okay. I look at the matchups, and I'm going to rank these coming up here. But first, I wanted to look at the entire arc of the season as a whole. You know, most impressive, least impressive, surprise team, all of that stuff. Rookie of the year. Look, man, Bo Nix. I know everybody loves Jaden Daniels. I get it. But if I was handing out Rookie of the Year, I'd give it to Bo Nix. Tougher division. You get the Chiefs. Got to navigate. Chargers. That's a 3 playoff team division. Yet DC makes the playoffs. The Eagles, Cowboys. What the Cowboys did this year. Oof. Oof. Not very pretty. And come on, let's face it, the Jets in the AFC. I mean, I talk about disappointing teams. But let me get to the awards first. So Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, it's close, but I try to get the slight edge to Bo Nix. I get it. You both not going to complain, but there you go. MVP, it's Josh Allen. If Saquon Barkley would have rushed and maybe broken Eric Dickerson's record, you could have made a case for it. But Josh Allen's your MVP. Defensive Player of the Year, I go for it. Now that Aaron Donald's retired, it's opened up a little bit. I mean, you could go Watt. You could go, Chris Jones for what he did. You go a variety of directions there. Coach of the Year in the NFL, got to be Dan Campbell, right? Lions are the 1 seed. Tied for the best record in the NFL. Lions are 15. Lions are the 1 seed. All those injuries that they've had to overcome this year. What Andy Reid's done in Kansas City is remarkable too. Sean Payton will probably get it, or in DC, but Dan Campbell would be Coach of the Year in my book for what he's done. Guy in Minnesota did a great job too, but I'd give it to Campbell. There we go. It was a pretty solid season. Most disappointing team in the NFL. You could make a case for the Jaguars. You really could. The Cowboys. It's probably the Cowboys. You know, the Cowboys last year make the postseason, get shocked in the opening round by Green Bay. They got everybody back. Here we go. Paid the guys. Let's make another run at it. And they're out of playoff contention by Thanksgiving. It's over by Thanksgiving. Right? The Jaguars were a team that was the 1 seed in December. They were the top seed in the AFC last year. Thanksgiving weekend. Completely falls apart. Disaster. 4 wins. So, if you're going to do it by conference, I think that's how you have to go about it. Nobody expected any. The Jets are right up there, too, with the disaster that is. So, it's Jets and Jaguars right there neck and neck. But I think it's the Cowboys just because of all the talent that they have and everybody that's coming back. In terms of disappointment. Surprise, got to be DC, doesn't it? The Vikings going 14-3 is the 5 seed. Good God. But I think the Vikings would be the biggest surprise. Biggest disappointment, the Cowboys, biggest surprise, DC. I think about the Vikings. I want to do that, but DC. So there's your, and if you had to go over the overall arc and the storyline in the NFL, look at the season Joe Burrow had, Josh Allen. I mean, the fact that the Chiefs went 15-2 and Patrick Mahomes didn't make the Pro Bowl. Chiefs don't have a 1,000-yard receiver. Chiefs don't have a 1,000-yard rusher. Didn't score more than 30 points in any game this year. They're 15-2. Three-peat. Here we go. So there we go. Ranking the games coming into this weekend in terms of most excited, least excited about. And at 6, I've got the Chargers and the Texans at the bottom. Somebody's got to be at the bottom, right? The Texans host. They've been the class act of this division for 15 years now. What do they won it? 9 out of 15 times? 8, more than half. So now what? CJ Stroud, here we go again. Here we go again with CJ Stroud. And I would like to think that, you got Justin Herbert, you got CJ Stroud. Here's that next generation of quarterbacks. One of them is finally going to get a playoff win. A big one, too. Well, the Texans already last year, but finally going to get a big one. If the Texans win this, boy, okay. If an upset occurs behind them, then they end up in Buffalo. But boy, do I have a tough time. With this one, if the Chargers win, then the Chargers probably end up in Kansas City because I don't see Denver winning. And there's where we go to the next on this list. Not quite yet on this. The 5th, I got the Vikings and the Rams in terms of interest. The job that Sam Darnold did is amazing. And then, look, Matt Stafford, is this the last legitimate shot he's got to do something? They're at home. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Rams beat them. I wouldn't. Broncos, Bills, 4th on my list in terms of excitement. I think Bo Nix, they're playing well and going into Buffalo. It's an 8-point spread that's way too high. But Josh Allen, a chance to sit back, and I think they're going to be fine. But I think that game has a chance to be really good. And then, to me, the top 3 games of the weekend, I mean, the fact that you've got Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels down in Tampa. The season started in Tampa between these two, DC and the Bucks. And here we are again. And, of course, last year, Bucks win a postseason game and do what? Win a postseason game, go to Detroit, play very well in the late stages of the 4th quarter. Year before, what happens? Get totally embarrassed. Tom Brady's last game against the Dallas Cowboys. Totally embarrassed. Year before, what happens? Well, they win a postseason game and then lose to the Rams, who go on to win the Super Bowl. Cooper Kupp with a big catch. And the year before that, Bucks win the Super Bowl, going on the road for all 3 games. 4th straight division title, Mike Evans, 1,000 yards. I think this Sunday night, here we go. And that's interesting when you think about it too. The fact that they put the Bucks in prime time Sunday night against Jaden Daniels, that shows you something there. To me, the second game I'm most excited about, Steelers-Ravens. Any other year, this would be one. It's the Steelers and the Ravens in the postseason. And what's history told us when these two hook up in the postseason? Steelers beat them. So the history's told us in the postseason between these two. In fact, I think the last 2 times the Steelers went to the Super Bowl, didn't they go through Baltimore to do that? Think about that. And then the Packers and the Eagles is the best game of the weekend, at least on paper. The Packers in Philly. I mean, it could have been an NFC championship game preview. The Packers have already gone on the road last year and showed you what they can do. It'd be a fantastic game. I'll do my predictions a little bit later on in the week, but looking at this, when we used to have 4 teams in the wild card round, history told us at least 2 teams would win. History told us at least 2 road teams will win here. If you had to pick 2 road teams without even thinking about it, just looking off the top of the cuff, okay, here, who would you pick? I think if you had to pick 2 off the top, I think you'd pick the Chargers and the Vikings, would you? If you had to pick 2? Boy, it's going to be a good weekend for the postseason. One to wrap with this. Looking at the teams in this state, the Jaguars, disaster, picking in the top 5. We'll see what they do. I mean, that's a team that basically can draft any position and be better. Need to protect Trevor Lawrence. He gets hurt way too much. But I mean, they basically can do a lot of things there. They can. I do believe that the Bucs, what they did this year, 10-7, the fact that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin missed 15 games combined, the fact that Mike Evans got 1,000 yards, and good for them, but $3 million, like, this is going to be controversial putting guys in. Could you imagine if he got hurt in that last play? He didn't, gets his 1,000 yards. I mean, ties Jerry Rice for the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. It's just amazing. Amazing. For Mike Evans, who's got a job or a spot in Canton. The Dolphins, what a mess. And the fact that Tyreek Hill came out and wants to be traded, wants to play for a winner. You know, there's a moral of the story here with all of this. If you want to win, the only position that can get top dollar and win is quarterback. I want to be the highest paid at my position. That doesn't work anymore. It can work. Quarterback, defensive line, maybe, because you got Mahomes and Chris Jones, but Mahomes isn't in the top 7 at the quarterback position. And Tyreek Hill is coming out. I looked at Tyreek's deal. Okay. Essentially, he's got 2 years at $78 million on this deal. Good God, is he going to have to restructure that? He's got 27 next year. There's a salary cap, 55 in dead money. Following year, 51 million in the salary cap, 15 in dead money. This dude essentially has got a 2-year, $78 million deal. Now, look, the Dolphins would cut him and eat the 15 in 2 years, but if he wants out that 55 million in dead money, oh my God. So I was looking at this. There's no way. He's going to have to tear this thing up. Maybe. If it's, what did I say, 278? If he goes 480, maybe. And the perfect place for him is DC. I was looking at salary cap wise. The Patriots and the Raiders both have under 100 million. You're not winning there. Forget that noise. No way. Forget it. Tyreek Hill really wants to win. Commanders third on this list at 99 million. And then I've got teams like playoff contenders, teams that have chances to win. The Vikings at 75 million, the Chargers at 74. But let's not forget, the Vikings are going to have to sink $30 million here, aren't they? $40 million into a quarterback. Don't you? I mean, you're paying Kirk Cousins $30-40 million a year forever. You finally get your guy. You go 14-3. Sam Darnold bounced around, but you're going to franchise him, aren't you? You got JJ2 coming back, but you're going to spend $40 million. So the Commanders are the best place for him. It really is. And then you can combine him with Jaden Daniels in your off and running. But that's the fit. But if I'm the Commanders, I'm like, we're going to trade like a 3rd-round pick for you. You're going to have to redo this. And I wrote 585, 475 in that range. He's 30 years old. Do I still think he's got some in the tank? You bet he does. He got 3-4 years left in the tank. That speed doesn't really, but if he wants to win, he's not going to be in the top 10 in terms of highest paid receivers. Not over the age of 30. Nope. Kind of have to do what D-Hop does. You got to, okay, where do I go? 10 million. I don't know if we're quite there yet, but oh my God. How much are the Dolphins going to want to eat this? They're like, okay, we're going to have to restructure this thing. Tyreek Hill wants to win. DC, but even if you want to go to the Chargers have some room, have some receipt, but again, you're going to have to tear that thing up. If it's more than 80, then it has to be more than 4 years. Anything other than that, you're not winning. Again, he can go soak the Patriots and soak the Raiders if you want. You're not going to win. I mean, maybe a worse situation. It's amazing how quickly they change. Harp on Sports, the Bar podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports X, at Harp on Sports Instagram, Harp on Sports Auditory Route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harp on Sports Facebook page, Harp on Sports YouTube channel under the bar, and of course, harponsports.com. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, strong, Frankenstein. Have fun with your friends.